What do you want to become good at? What do you want to become an expert on? YouTube is literally filled with millions of instructional videos, people talking about what they know, describing and teaching others how to do what they do. Today I want to continue to teach you about prayer. I'd like to talk to you about another kind of prayer this morning. It might seem a little odd to describe it this way, but it's the prayer of groaning. And maybe just before I share a couple of Bible passages and tell you more about the prayer of groaning, I want to invite you to participate with this video for a minute. How about a nice long groan? Try it. Now, again, this might be the most strange way to begin a little YouTube devotional video. But if you just groaned, if you just experienced what it's like to utter that type of sound that doesn't have words to it, then you might be surprised at how much that communicates from your spirit, from your body, from your experience lately. There are many types of prayer. Many ways to pray, maybe as many ways to pray as there are ways to communicate as human beings. And the prayer of groaning is one of those ways that when all the other words that we might choose don't suffice, the prayer of groaning is a way for our spirits to communicate with God. There are many places in the Bible where the prayer of groaning appears. One of them is in Psalm 22, the prayer that Jesus prayed from the cross. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me, so far from the words of my groaning? But probably the best passage of the Bible that tells us about the prayer of groaning is in Romans 8. If we look down towards verse 22, we read, "We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time." And then it goes on to the personal level. "Not only so, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for adoption as sons, the redemption of our bodies." And then finally, in verse 26, it really describes this prayer. "In the same way the Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groans that words cannot express." That's really it. The prayer of groaning. We don't know what to pray for, but the Spirit prays through us with groans that words can't express. It sounds a little bit weird, I know. Even as I'm recording this video for a devotional that's going to be on our YouTube channel, I'm aware that talking about the prayer of groaning might be a really strange thing for some people to hear. But there it is. It's biblical, and in my experience, this has been a kind of prayer that has been helpful, that has been relaxing. It's easy to pray the prayer of groaning. It takes the spotlight off of the words that we choose, and it puts it back onto the posture of our spirits in the presence of God. I want to invite you to begin to practice the prayer of groaning. So, when do we pray like this? Well, when do you groan? For me, one of the most frequent times that I groan, and my wife Andrea can attest to this, is when I'm in pain. Maybe I've got a stiff back or sore knees. Maybe I'm rolling over or getting up with a kid that's hanging onto my back, and I groan. Groaning like that can be a reminder to bring our own physical pain before the Lord. Maybe you've had a painful experience recently. Maybe you cope with chronic pain in your life, or maybe you're praying for someone who's in pain. Your groans of physical pain can be prayers before God and in His presence. You can bring your body before God and say, "Here I am. This body is yours. Please give me the strength to meet the challenges of the day. Please hear my prayers." But there are other types of groaning too. Maybe you groan these days when you read the news. Maybe you look at the headlines and you look down and scan through the various bits of news that are before you, and you groan because you've seen these things before. You've heard these same reports, and the bad news sometimes makes us groan inwardly in pain. The prayer of groaning applies to reading the news. Or maybe you simply stand looking out at the world, wondering what to do, wondering what your purpose is, and you're at a little bit of a loss. Maybe you're at a loss for thinking about your place in this world. And you don't necessarily know the words to say to describe how you feel or to bring these thoughts before God. You can pray the prayer of groaning in that place too. You need a quiet, private place to pray this way. But I know you can find a place like that. Go somewhere where no one can hear you groan, except for God Himself, and bring your prayer of groaning before His holy and loving and kind and merciful and patient presence. Groan before Him with all the feelings of your heart, and with all the thoughts of your head, and with everything that you can't put into words. I invite you to pray the prayer of groaning, and may that enrich your prayer life as it has enriched mine. We'll see you next time.